style notes. You'll notice I've already named my Google Docs so that I can find it again, narrative writing style notes. I recommend giving very specific titles to whatever notes you're taking as well. So if you're writing by hand, which I do strongly recommend, you can go ahead and title these notes narrative writing style notes. So we're talking today about our personal narrative and the way we can improve style on that. So we know what creative writing is. Keep in mind that nonfiction is that real writing. So nonfiction refers to like a memoir or a biography, or when you're reading a history textbook. All that stuff's going to be nonfiction. So our first bullet point is going to be setting. Setting and scene. So notice when I'm writing out some bullet points for myself, I'm going to want to actually give myself some bullet points. Here we go. So when we're setting or scene, we want to make sure we use imagery. And so the key word here in imagery is this word image. Our imagery has to do with our sensory details. You know what your 5 senses are. And so the sensory detail is going to be the difference between showing or telling. Your sensory details are what makes the showing. So think about, you can read that it's late fall, you've got an idea maybe what's going on, but it's not going to kind of surround you the experience in the same way that if I wrote, the bitter wind made my jacket billow as I watched the dead leaves crunch under my feet. That billowing jacket, you've got that texture of the jacket, that tactile experience. You've got this visual of the wind blowing hard. As you're walking on those leaves, you've got the visual of the leaves, you've got the tactile of stepping on them. You've got the sound of that crunching. You're able to give your reader the opportunity to feel like they are in that moment. Now, showing isn't always talking about detail. It's not always a matter of kind of painting the scene for your reader. Sometimes showing is just giving further explanation. If you want to compare showing in creative writing to what you would use in argumentative writing, your evidence in argumentative writing is what showing is to creative writing or narrative writing. They often overlap. So here's an example of showing. The house itself looked toward town. It was huge and rambling and sagging, its windows haphazardly boarded shut, giving it that sinister look of all old houses that had been empty for a long time. The paint had been weathered away, giving the house a uniform gray look. Windstorms had ripped many of the shingles off, and a heavy snowstorm had punched in the west corner of the main roof, giving it a slumped, hunched look. A tattered no trespassing sign was impaled to the right-hand newel post. Now, obviously, you're not going to use this level of detail all the time. You bog down your reader in the details. But when you're setting the scene, this is definitely the amount of detail you want to give so that your reader can see what you're writing. Now, if I just told that there was a house and I asked you all to draw the house, we wouldn't have a lot of the same houses. They look different. But if I asked you to draw this house that I've described here, your drawings are going to look pretty similar. We've given enough detail that you can get an idea of exactly what this looks like. That's the difference between showing and telling. So our next note's going to be denotation. Spelling is hard. And I still got it wrong. There we go. Denotation and connotation. Got that one right. Denotation and connotation is what the difference is between a house and a home. Your denotation is going to be your dictionary definition. That's going to be your denotation. And notice it's kind of easy to remember because you got these two D's here. We got D as a denotation, and we got the D in dictionary. So denotation is going to be the dictionary you read in a definition. The definition you read in a dictionary. Sorry about that. Connotation is going to be your emotional and cultural definition. Okay? It's going to be the vibe that you know is associated with a word. So connotation, we have a C, and hopefully we also have a C in cultural. So that really helps to keep those two straight in your brain. Now notice, I didn't write the definition that I have over here in my PowerPoint. Instead, I wrote what the definition means in my own words. It's So the denotation, house and home, technically mean the same thing. They're the same thing in the dictionary. However, when you're reading, you know that home is not the same thing as house. House typically makes us think of a building, whereas home is a feeling, it's people. Once again, that difference is connotation. So let's look at these. You need to chill out. That's connotation. You're not asking someone to put themselves in the fridge. You're telling them to calm down. The dictionary is not going to tell you that. So the denotation is not going to tell you that. The connotation lets us know what we mean here. This is part of what's a struggle for people learning the language, because connotation isn't typically in a definition. In a dictionary. You only get the dictionary definition. So this is what might confuse some English language learners, and so watch out for that. She's shrewd. This one's straightforward. It's a dictionary definition. He's so hot. You know here, from watching movies with your friends and stuff, that we're not talking about that he has a fever. He is not literally hot. We're talking about the appearance. We're saying this person is physically attractive. Once again, same idea with I'm feeling blue. You're not feeling the color. However, the color blue does have a connotation in our culture that means it has to do something with feeling sad, feeling depressed. And so this idea, again, that the cultural definition here is how we make sense of this. Come on, clicky. There we go. So our next bullet point is going to be tone. And tone is the writer's attitude about a subject. So let's look at the tone here in the mountain climbing article. So it starts out, he's looking at what happened in March. We've got maybe a tone of frustration here, but then as he moves through his article, he moves to a tone of hopefulness, a more positive tone. Throughout this article, we have a tone that's more formal, and the formal tone is built by the diction. Diction is just a word for word choice. Tone is developed through diction. Diction is just word choice. So if you write, the author uses diction, that is a duh statement, because you're just saying the author uses words. Of course the author uses words. You would say, however, that the author's diction at page whatever creates a tone of X. Okay, we develop our tone through our diction. And so the words we use here in this article are what helps us develop this kind of conversational tone that we have here. And in a lot of y'all's responses, you said you would like the mountain climbing article more because of that conversational tone. Those first two articles where we were reading about grief and coping and how that related to COVID, those two articles were more academic. They had a more formal tone. I want you to ask yourself what might have been the tone, in addition to being formal and academic, what might have been the tone in those first two articles? Maybe it was informative. Maybe it was a little bit encouraging. I think definitely towards the end, this one was more encouraging. Let's look at a specific moment in here to look at how diction makes our author's purpose a little clearer. Notice when we talked about this in our annotations that the author used these words barrage, onslaught, these violent words, these words of war. This warlike language helps the reader to understand that there's a fight going on with the news. You feel attacked by the news. And so the diction there is what creates that feeling. That word choice there is what creates that feeling. So this is a great example of diction that you could write about. And so our next tidbit is going to be literary devices. Okay? So you can either pause the video here, or you can write along as I type along. Literary devices. You know what a simile is? This is just a refresher from your freshman year. A simile is a comparison using like or as. If you need to write the example, definitely do so. He was as loud as the AC in Miss Hayes' very cool classroom. I don't think my classroom's cold, but I've heard enough of you say it is. So our next one, we got metaphors. Once again, if you need an example, write it. If you don't need the example, don't write it. Our metaphor is a comparison of two things that aren't alike, but they have something in common. The last one might be what you're a little less familiar with, that analogy. Our analogy is a comparison used to describe or explain. So, stop suggesting stuff. So, the analogy that y'all have fresh on your brains is the analogy of mountain climbing. It's easier to understand the act of mountain climbing, that's more tangible, versus the intangible of being able to understand and interact with our emotions. And so you compare dealing with our emotions to mountain climbing in this analogy here. Yep, that's your analogy. And so our last two notes are imagery and sensory language. Those descriptions. Here in my notes, I would draw an arrow going from here up here. Instead of writing it again, just draw an arrow. We also have symbolism. Symbolism is an object that stands for a larger idea. You all know symbolism. You've seen hearts stand for love, eagles stand for freedom. We can get a little deeper than that, a little more complex. When our author writes about their vacation being canceled, and when y'all wrote about your vacations being canceled, you're also talking about your freedom here. The vacation is one thing that's showing the freedom that you've kind of lost due to COVID. Similarly, masking should be a symbol of that you care about people. When you wear a mask, you are protecting other people from you. When you wear a mask, you protect other people from you. And so by wearing a mask, you're showing that you care about people. So that can be a symbol for caring about each other. Some people might feel that wearing a mask could be a symbol of fear. And that also goes to show the fact that symbols are not always straightforward. Symbols can have multiple meanings. So be intentional about how you use those. Now, why are we doing this? Well, we're doing this because it's important for you to know these ideas, but also you're going to apply some of these ideas to your articles. So when you look here, you'll notice that when we worked in class, as you worked in your final revision, you revised the focus on showing rather than telling. You use these notes over here that you took to help you with this. Now, you weren't using all of these notes. That would just be crazy. You're using a few of them to help you show your reader. And you're doing this over in the final revision assignment. And remember, I got a video over here showing you how to do this final revision. But when I refer to here the directions, I refer to the further narrative and style ideas. These are those narrative style ideas to use to help you as you are showing rather than telling. You're focused on making things clearer for your reader. Hopefully this video was helpful as a review for your style guide, or if you were absent on Wednesday or Thursday. I apologize if the video is not perfect, but hey, my lessons in class aren't perfect either. We are all in this together. Hopefully this video, once again, was informative. If you have any questions, as always, please shoot me an email. This is Brittany.Hayes at ccbue.net signing out.